My name is Samantha Logan. I have spent 10 years building online communities. I've done it for brands. I've done it for nonprofits. I've done it for associations. I've done it for communities. I've done it for neighborhoods. And I've done it just to have a random forum or chat room on Discord. Before we get started, I have 3 big promises that I want from you. First thing is, especially in your research, I want you to plan big. Consider what topics are available, but progress small. Just grab one thing from this talk. Doesn't need to be anything huge or revolutionary, just one thing, and then go implement that. First get good, then get better. And at the end of it all, you can come back. I'll be here, this will be here, all of us will be here. So those are the 3 big promises before we get started. Everyone who agrees with this, say aye. Great, cool, awesome. Now, this is the core of my work. We all spend a lot of our lives online. We all spend a lot of our lives giving away power. A lot of this power goes to individuals who do not know people, corporations, and website infrastructures that we do not understand. So if we want that power, we need the ability to control bad actors. We need the ability to arrest power from those who have it. And in order for us to do that, our typical approach has been to inoculate our online communities. We set up specific community charters. We put together specific rules and guidelines, and we say, you know what, you're allowed to do that on Facebook, you're allowed to do that on Instagram, but when you come here, this is the culture. And oftentimes our response is to batten down the hatches, right? When a bad actor comes in, we're like, mute and boot. They're gone, they're out of here. And what that's doing is it's preventing us from being able to communicate in discourse. So the big question that we have right now, is inoculation even an option when power is not in the hands of the community members that are being impacted? So real quick, before we do this is the operative definition that I am using for a community. It is a unit of culture. And because culture is the main term here, we have to ask and build our definition for a community off of the definition for what a culture is. So at the moment, it is a set of shared attitudes, values, goals, experiences, practices, and especially for this talk, artifacts that characterize a defined group of people of any specific size. We have one further comment that we need to describe, which is what public discourse is. Public discourse is the process, the mode, and the structure by which we share knowledge. This is what matters here. This is where the power lies. Our attitudes, our values, and our goals have already been decided by others. How do we maintain agency and a sway in them? So there are 3 primary ways that we can think of this using classical studies and research and understanding. And this provides us a context for more recent understanding for how power works in and amongst communities on the internet. First and foremost, Habermas. Habermas basically has this general belief, this general understanding that all of the systems that we build in our society have a sway on the way that our discourse is built. So if we change the system, the underlying social structures, we can change the conversation on top of it. The ecosystem of that discourse is impacted by the underlying social structures. There is one person who seems to kind of disagree with this notion, because it's not just about changing a few things. It's not, we're just going to do a few levers here, and then suddenly the conversation has changed over here. Instead, we have to recognize that the social systems have a sway on the way that the discourse works. The possibilities placed into the room in any meeting among stakeholders, among the public, what have you, will immutably and irrevocably change based upon the experiences that people have coming into the room. The artifacts of those social systems therefore limit and also enable our discourse. But the other thing is, it's also relational, right? We choose, based upon what we say in any given moment, how we change the discourse in a meeting. Just purely by having one extra individual in an executive room, we could change the way that those executives talk about concepts. Just by introducing ideas and improving the diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging of those spaces, we could deconstruct that conversation, a concept that's brought about by Derrida. I recognize some people in the room will know I'm not a huge fan of Derrida, but it is nonetheless true that power in discourse is also relational. Kind of stepping out of those more classical ideas and knowledge of what this power concept is, we know that we have this relational concept, this historical and this systemic concept that changes the way we engage with communities. So we can map out our communities based upon that function. And there are 4 general approaches. The first one might sound similar to the systemic perspective. The second literally has the word historical in it. The third has relational interactional. And yet there's this 4th idea, this understanding that as you move forward in time, you are creating cultural precedents that have built momentum to create shared community identities. Canuno and Jaeger are 2 anthropologists, specifically cultural archaeologists, and their focus is asking, okay, in these individual communities, based upon the artifacts that they have, how have discussions and discourse changed? They're known for saying community is not a spatial cluster of material. It's not a collection of social systems. It's a process that has to be inferred. Content, the things that are in the room, matters. Context, the way that these interactions occur, that matters just as much. There's a royal family here. We have a difference now between the context of how we build a room and what people bring into that room establishes a culture. And by choosing to change the way that the room works, choosing to change the dialogue, we have the ability to recognize our past, but also set it aside. Instead of trying to refute biases and attack power in person, we have the ability to choose to adjust, to set a new precedent. And then over time, context by context, day by day, we can change the way that conversation works in the room. That seems like a great way to change discourse. And modern researcher Peter Block seems to agree with me. Context is this notion of what we choose to do today. Culture is the notion of the historical impact, the reason why we are doing what we do today. And this is important. This is critical. This is vital every single time we gather to recognize the context of our culture at the start of the meeting, make choices, and then move forward. It's how we build community. It's how we'll change community. And it's how we can arrest control and power from the way that the internet works today in order to manage toxicity. Toxicity is a completely different conversation. It's a much longer talk, but it's something that we really need to cover. But the question that we started here with was, can we change that status quo? Is that dominant context changeable? And I believe that it is.